بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله محمد.
Those that claim that the Imam objected to tawassul altogether are unable to adduce anything to support such a claim other than the above caveat, which is not against tawassul but against a specific prohibitive wording in tawassul. A proof of this is that it is permissible in the Hanafi school to say, by the sanctity, honor of so-and-so in your presence. This is stated in the Fatawa Bazaziyya in the margin of the Fatawa Hindiyya, and is also the position of Abu al-Layth al-Samarqandi and Ibn Abidin. Even so, there is authentic evidence in 1. the hadith of Fatima bint Asad, 2. the hadith, O Allah, I ask you by the right of those who ask you, 3. in hadith, O Allah, I ask you by the joints of power in the throne, and 4. the hadith, do you know the right owed to Allah by his slaves and the right owed by Allah to his slaves, to support the permissibility of such a wording. If the above objection is authentically reported from Abu Hanifa, then either he did not deem these hadith authentic by his standards, or they did not reach him. And an illustration of this is that Abu Yusuf permitted the formula by the joints of power. Further, the opposite is also reported from Abu Hanifa, namely that he permitted tawassul using those very expressions. Ibn Abidin said in the Taqarqaniyya, the Adhkar also report what shows permissibility. Then he cites from Al-Qari's Shahr al-Niqaya, Al-Munawi quoting Ibn Abd Salam, the very first of his fatwa in the printed Risala edition, and Al-Subki, further explanations that it is permitted. Then he cites the fatwa by Ibn Amir al-Hajj in the 13th chapter of Shahr al-Munya, that permissibility is not limited to tawassul through the Prophet ﷺ, but extends to the Salihin. The cancellation of ablution by laughter. Among the noted positions of the Imam Abu Hanifa and his school is that laughter during prayer, other than the janazah prayer, invalidates one's ritual purity, and he must repeat both the ablution and the prayer. This is based on the prophetic narration, whoever laughs during prayer, let him renew both his ablution and his prayer. Abu Hanifa's definition of Sunnism. Abu Hanifa gave one of the pithiest definitions of Sunnism in Islam, the doctrine of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, consisting in preferring the two sheikhs, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar radiallahu anhu, loving the two sons-in-law, Ali radiallahu anhu and Uthman radiallahu anhu, and deeming lawful the wiping on leather socks in ablution. The middle part of this statement is elucidated by Al-Awza'i's saying, love of Ali and Uthman together, Allah be well pleased with them, is not found except in the heart of a believer. Abu Hanifa also said, I did not wipe on the two khufs until it became for me as clear as the sun in its proofs. His praise of Ja'far as-Sadiq. Both Malik in his Muwatta and Abu Hanifa in his Musnads narrated from Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. Abu Hanifa said, I never saw one greater in fiqh than Ja'far ibn Muhammad. his definition of belief, Iman. Both al-Maturidi and at-Tahawi followed Abu Hanifa in his and his companions in the position that belief, al-Iman, consists in conviction in the heart and affirmation by the tongue, without adding, as do Malik, al-Shafi'i, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and their other schools, practice with the limbs. Al-Maturidi, as also related from Abu Hanifa, went so far as to declare that the foundation of belief consisted only in conviction in the heart, the tongue's affirmation being a supplementary integral or pillar. The position was a pivot of disagreement among the Imams of the Salaf.
جزاك الله خيرا محمد. We'll do that next episode إن شاء الله. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. بسم الله. Sahih Muslim. Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj al-Nisapuri compiled his Sahih Muslim, which contains 10,000 ahadith, 3,030 without repetitions, derived from a much larger mass of about 300,000 ahadith. Muslim was in many ways a follower of al-Bukhari, which he has acknowledged himself and has to a large extent also utilized al-Bukhari's methods. When al-Bukhari came to Nishapur, then one of the finest cities of Khurasan, Muslim kept him company and he held al-Bukhari in affection and esteem. Muslim also learned from Bukhari's teacher Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, who was one of the leading scholars of Khurasan. This partly may explain why Sahih Muslim generally ranks second next to Sahih al-Bukhari, except for the ulama of North Africa and the Maghrib, who tend to rank Muslim first. This reverse order of ranking refers basically to the superior classification of Muslim, which is based on subject matter and compiles all ahadith on the same subject together with their various chains of isnad under one heading or chapter. Sahih Muslim is consequently better consolidated and easier to use compared to Sahih al-Bukhari. Those who knew Muslim spoke highly of his retentive memory, his piety, and dedication to scholarship. He went to Hajj at the age of 20 and he learned from some of the leading figures in Mecca. He also went to Baghdad on several occasions. Many of the leading figures of his time, including Abu Hatim al-Razi, Abu Isa al-Tirmidhi, Abu Bakr al-Khuzayma, among others, have narrated hadith from Muslim and held him in affection and esteem. One of the reasons that prompted Muslim to write his work, Sahih Muslim, was that works of hadith that were available then were somewhat difficult to use, and he addressed himself to the task of writing a reliable work that is easy to utilize. Although al-Bukhari's work was classified subject-wise, it left room for improvement, which Muslim had obviously targeted for his own work. He completed his work in 15 years and showed it to Abu Zur'a al-Razi and implemented his suggestions concerning a hadith that were defective, ma'lul, and included as a result only hadith that were clear of illah. Muslim went on record to say that his work consisted of sound, sahih hadith, but noted, I did not say what I have verified in this book is devoid of weak reports. The other purpose that motivated Imam Muslim was the same as motivated al-Bukhari, which is to purify the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ from the accretions of storytellers, the Zanadiqa, heretics, and those who were moved by ignorance and prejudice. He also tried to confine his selection of hadith to a manageable size, as he considered it to be easier to ensure the accuracy of a smaller bulk compared to a much larger one. Muslim's classification resembles that of al-Bukhari in regard to its main headings, but Muslim's division of chapters is better consolidated and self-contained. It has fewer repetitions and does not summarize hadith in the way Al-Bukhari has done. He is known for his careful use of the terms حدثنا and أخبرنا, in that he reserves the former for direct hearing by the disciple from the Shaykh, whereas the latter is used when the disciple has read back to the Shaykh for his approval and verification. This is generally adopted, but there are many among Hadith scholars who have used these two terms interchangeably. Al-Bukhari tends to be more stringent in qualifying hadith as sahih, authentic. Al-Bukhari's conditions of admitting hadith as a sahih hadith signified not only that the immediate links in the chain of isnad were contemporaries of one another, but also that they had actually met and direct hearing took place between the teacher and the disciple. For Muslim, it was sufficient that if the two were contemporaries, even if they had not actually met one another. Muslim was content, in other words, with the possibility of personal encounter, whereas Al-Bukhari required proof of an actual encounter between the transmitter and the recipient of hadith. A comparative evaluation of the transmitters of Al-Bukhari and Muslim also reveals that more of Al-Bukhari's transmitters qualify for the requirements of just character, adala, and retentiveness adopt than that of Muslims, and there are consequently fewer transmitters in Bukhari that are considered weak, da'if, than there are in Muslim. Thus, it is noted that a total of 430 or so of Al-Bukhari's transmitters, only about 80 have been questioned or labeled as weak, whereas the total of 620 narrators of Muslim, the critics have raised of the total 620 narrators of Muslim, critics have raised questions over 160. About 89 of Al-Bukhari's hadith have been identified to have some defect, whereas in Muslims' collection, such hadith have been numbered at 100. Al-Bukhari and Muslim have not claimed to contain an exhaustive collection of hadith, and some hadith which are not recorded in their collections have been compiled in the four collections, namely of Sunan Abu Dawood, Sunan al-Nasa'i, Sunan al-Tirmidhi, and Sunan Ibn Majah. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Bismillah.
The difference between Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's and Uthman radiallahu anhu's collection. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu had made one single copy of the various verbal and written material. His copy was later kept by Umar radiallahu anhu and then by his daughter Hafsa radiallahu anha. Uthman radiallahu anhu had many copies prepared from this copy and sent them to various places in the Muslim world, while the original suhuf were returned to Hafsa radiallahu anha and remained with her until her death. Later, Marwan bin Hakim, according to a report in Ibn Abi Dawood, collected it from her heirs and had it destroyed, presumably fearing it might become the cause of new disputes. Uthman radiallahu anhu also kept one of the copies for himself. This version of the text, also known as Mushaf Uthmani, in fact constitutes the ijma consensus of the Sahaba, all of whom agreed that it contained what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had brought as revelation from Allah. The wide distribution of this text and its undisputed authority can also be deduced from the reports on the Battle of Siffin, 27 years after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, and 5 years after Uthman radiallahu anhu's copies were distributed. Muawiyah's troop fixed sheets from the Quran on their spears to interrupt the battle. However, nobody accused anyone else of using a partisan version of the text, which would have made a splendid accusation against the enemy. Chapter 3. The Quran in manuscript and print. The Quranic script. Writing, although not very widespread in pre-Islamic time, was well known among the Arabs. The script used in the 7th century, i.e. during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, consisted of very basic symbols, which expressed only the consonantal structure of a word, and even that with much ambiguity. While today, letters such as ba, ta, tha, ya are easily distinguished by points, This was not so in the early days, and all these letters used to be written simply as a straight line. From this very basic system of writing, there developed over the ages various types of script, such as Kufi, Maghribi, Naqsh, etc., which spread all over the world. The later invention of printing and standardized types has contributed to formalizing the writing. However, as far as the actual script of the Quran is concerned, there were two important steps which brought about the forms in which we have the Quranic text as it is today. These were the introductions of voweling marks, tashkil, and diacritical marks, ajam. Tashkil. Tashkil is the name of the signs indicating the vowels in Arabic scripts. They were apparently unknown in pre-Islamic times. These signs help to determine the correct pronunciation of the word and to avoid mistakes. Example, Bait, Baytun. When more and more Muslims of non-Arab origin and also many ignorant Arabs studied the Quran, faulty pronunciation and wrong readings began to increase. It is related that at the time of the Da'uli, someone in Basra read the following ayah from the Quran in a faulty way, which changed the meaning completely. That God and his apostle dissolve obligations with the pagans. That God dissolves obligations with the pagans and the apostle. The mistake occurred through wrongly reading Rasulihi in place of Rasuluhu, which could not be distinguished from the written text because there were no signs or accents indicating the correct pronunciation. Unless someone had memorized the correct version, he could, out of ignorance, easily commit such a mistake. The signs or accents to prevent such problems were introduced not long before the Ajam and then got the shape they have to this day. Fatha, Kasra, and Dhamma. For an example of the old style, see plate 5. It has been suggested that,
Okay, Bismillah, go ahead, complete it, please.
It has been suggested that the origin of Fatha is Alif. The origin of Kasra is Ya, without dots as in early books, and the origin of Dhamma is Waw. Hamza was previously written as 2 dots.
Jazakallahu khairan. Okay, finish it, please. Finish the ajam.
Ajam. The Arabic letters, as we know them today, are made up of lines and points. The latter are called Ajam. The ancient Arabic script did not have them, but consisted of strokes only. The addition of Ajam to the plain writing of strokes helped to distinguish the various letters which could be easily mixed up. Without Ajam, this word cannot be easily recognized. With Ajam, the letters of this word can easily be distinguished. Although the Ajam were already known in pre-Islamic times, they were rarely used. The very early copies of the Quranic manuscript and the Arabic written in general did not have these signs. They were apparently introduced into the Quranic script during the time of the 5th Umayyad Caliph, Abdul Malik al-Marwan, and the governorship of al-Hajjaj in Iraq. When more and more Muslims began to read and study the Quran, some of whom did not know much of the Quran, and others were of non-Arab origin. It is said of the well-known Tabi'i ad-Da'uli that he was the first to introduce these points into the Quranic text.
Jazakallahu khairan, Muhammad. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.